First of all, before we get to this video, I don't even feel like starting out this video on a positive note. My thing is, if you know somebody from Lebanon, if you know anybody who's Lebanese, if you have any family members or any friends, I need you to just think of them. You know what I'm saying? Think of them. Of course, I'm not gonna do the typical cliche. Keep them in your prayers. Keep them in your prayers. Da, 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 da. Like, that's so typical. It's so cliche. It just doesn't really seem like, you know what I'm saying. That's just a blanket statement to be like, oh, they care. They prayed for them. Like, it's you have to really care for people. You have to really have concern, have some sort of empathy for people and sympathy. I'm telling you, that explosion looked like something out of a movie. That looked like something out of a movie. I've never seen an explosion of that magnitude, like, ever in my life. That's almost close to like nuclear bomb status of how huge that explosion was. Like, obviously there had to be some type of regulation, some type of mechanical violation in the factory where it happened. But because I've never seen an explosion of that magnitude, like, ever, bro. But for real, like, literally, like, keep the people of Lebanon, like, think of the people in Lebanon, not just keep them in your prayers and the typical cliche statement that people are going to forget about this tomorrow and people are just going to act like this never happened. I see all these celebrities now, they comment, oh my God, it looks so scary. Prayers to them. You don't care. You didn't care nothing about Lebanon before. You didn't care about no European countries or no Middle Eastern countries before, and you don't care about them now. So there's no need to sit here and just lie and act like you do. But again, Lebanon is definitely thinking of Lebanon and during this time, because it's already the pandemic, so it's just a whole bunch of stuff happening. Apparently where I'm at in the United States, we're supposed to get hit with some type of big tropical storm. So I'm just looking out for that. But a video that I wanted to put out, because I've done oversimplified videos, but I didn't want to do the MiniWars because I was like, oh, they're kind of short. But I can definitely find a way to get some information out of this. The football war. Never heard of this war. I wanted to say I actually would like to get some background on this. So let's just start, man.
2 seconds to name these two countries.
Seconds to name. I know that's not Nicaragua. This is El Salvador is on the bottom, and El Salvador and is that Nicaragua or Panama? I'm thinking either. Wait, that might be Honduras. I don't know. It's one. I know the bottom is El Salvador. I know that, but it's either Honduras, Nicaragua, or Panama. I might be wrong.
You're wrong, unless you got it right. Then good job. They are, of course, Honduras and El Salvador.
I know my Central American countries. Don't doubt me, bro.
One thing these two countries have in common is being fanatic about football. Or if you're a freedom-loving patriot, soccer. But do they love it so much they would go to war over it? You bet they would, and that is no bueno. If you look at these two countries, you might notice one major difference, and that is that this one is a lot bigger than this one. However, this one had a larger population than this one, made up mostly of farmers, and there wasn't enough land for them to live and work on. So they started moving from El Salvador to Honduras in search of land, and by the 1960s, a huge number of illegal immigrants had crossed over the border from El Salvador. Meanwhile, in Honduras, it's 1963, and this guy has just staged a military coup to prevent the rise of communism, and is now the military leader of the country. He immediately began harassing the peasants' unions and other left-wing groups, but he's a little insecure about the legitimacy of his leadership. So he holds an election and wins, but then the opposing party says, hey man, that election was clearly corrupt and fraudulent, and also you've been bribed by the rich American banana companies who are taking all of our bananas tax-free, and now our economy is in ruins, and everyone started to get mad at him. Now, if you ever find yourself the barely legitimate military leader of a corrupt Central American country and you start getting into hot water, here's a bit of advice that has been tried and tested throughout the centuries. Blame something else. So he blamed the Salvadoran immigrants for stealing all the land and all the jobs and ruining.
Just like Trump does. You know what I'm saying? Blame game. That's what all these big politicians, man. They never want to take responsibility for anything that's happened, even though you know putting yourself in that position is going to open you up to being the brunt of the punishment, regardless of what happens. Just like on a sports team, when the team is doing bad, the coach is usually the one that goes down first. It's usually never the players. It's the coach that gets fired before you start releasing players. If the country's doing bad, they look at who's at the top.
Honduras. The immigrants found themselves under attack by the hostile locals. Egged on by the rich American banana companies who wanted all the bananas to themselves, the Honduran government began evicting Salvadoran immigrants who had been living on the land for generations and started sending them back to El Salvador. The Salvadoran elite were furious and protested, citing moral reasons, but in reality, they were just getting a little too crowded. So tensions were about as high as they could be, but then... It's the 1970 World Cup qualifiers, and both countries finished top of their qualifying table, so it was now time for them to play against each other in a series of matches. The first match took place in Honduras. The night before the game, Hondurans gathered outside the Salvadoran team's hotel, making noise and taunting them. The next day, Honduras defeated the exhausted Salvadorans with a late 90th minute goal. After the match, a young Salvadoran fan, unable to bear her country's defeat, shot herself. Disturbingly, the Salvadoran government glorified the incident and made her into a national hero. And at the next game, fans brought pictures...
What? What? So she's a natural hero for committing suicide after her national team lost? So we're glorifying suicide. Okay, I see. Okay.
Of her to the stadium. Emotions were running high as the next match took place in El Salvador, and this time the tables were turned. The Hondurans had to endure a sleepless night in their hotel, and the next day, before the match...
This dude just literally threw a truck through a hotel. Okay.
Started, instead of the Honduran flag, the Salvadorans raised a dirty rag. So great job at reducing tensions. El Salvador won decisively over the exhausted Hondurans, while spectators battled in the stands. Team Honduras fled home in a bulletproof bus with rocks being thrown at them, and the Honduran coach reportedly told his players that they were lucky they lost. In response to the defeat, Hondurans began terrorizing the Salvadoran settlers even more, in some cases reportedly throwing them off their land and burning down their homes, and the immigrants began fleeing back to El Salvador. The final game in Mexico would decide who went to the World Cup. It was close, but El Salvador came out victorious, knocking Honduras out of the tournament. The atmosphere was riotous, literally, and back in Honduras, attacks on the Salvadoran immigrants further increased. This was too much for El Salvador to bear. With its people under attack and an unmanageable refugee crisis on its hands, El Salvador severed all diplomatic ties with Honduras and declared war. The football war is also known as the 100 Hours War, because that's how long it lasted, making it one of the shortest wars in history. El Salvador started by carrying out air raids on strategic locations within Honduras, including Toncontin International Airport, which prevented the Honduran Air Force from getting into the sky. Then, with their superior army, they began an invasion.
Yo, just this whole story is crazy how a couple of football games and disputes over land turned into an actual war. That's ridiculous. Like, of course, you know, like with sports controlling society, like it's obviously sports that have had a large role in society, like with Jesse Owens and Adolf Hitler, or you have the Russian hockey team in the 1970s. Play, I think didn't they beat the U.S. They beat the United States hockey team. I think the Dream Team for the basketball when it started. Yeah, like this sports definitely has an impact on history in a lot of ways. So you can't just dismiss it.
Along two major roads, complete with light tanks and infantry. Their advance was rapid, and they were quickly approaching the Honduran capital. Then the Organization of American States met in a bit of a panic and unanimously agreed that war between El Salvador and Honduras was a bad thing and probably shouldn't continue. So they went to El Salvador and said, "Can you please stop invading?" And El Salvador declared, "Not until they stop being jerks," and so the war went on. The Honduran Air Force finally got into the sky, and with aid from neighboring Nicaragua, they successfully carried out air raids on Salvadoran air bases and oil facilities, crippling the Salvadoran supply line and stopping their advance dead. Caught in a bit of a stalemate, the situation...
That's not fair. That's not fair. How you gonna call the aid of Nicaragua and you saying that El Salvador is like 5 times smaller than your country? Of course, maybe the population's bigger, but come on, man. We cheating against El Salvador, bruh.
was no longer advantageous to El Salvador, so when the Organization of American States once again asked them to stop and agreed to ensure the safety of the Salvadoran immigrants, El Salvador relented, and a ceasefire was organized on the 18th of July. Then the OAS said, "Can you now please withdraw your troops from Honduras? No, please, no, please, no, please, no. Do it or we'll sanction you." You know what? Just for you, I'll do it. So El Salvador pulled its troops out of Honduras on the 2nd of August, and with casualties in the thousands, the war was over. The economies of both nations were damaged by the war.
Wait. 6,000 killed in 4 days? That's like 4 days. Wow. That's 16,000 killed. 15,000 injured. 21,000 casualties in 4 days. That's, when you think about it, that's a lot, considering how short the war was. 21,000 casualties in 4 days. Really 4 days and a little bit, because 100 hours is like 4 days and some change. But that's a lot, man.
War. And El Salvador didn't have the capability to take care of all the returning immigrants, a crisis that eventually helped cause a civil war. The war left behind land and border disputes, some of which are still a cause of tension to this day. El Salvador went on to play in the World Cup, but lost every match they played and didn't make it past the group stage. So in the end, nobody achieved anything, and there were no winners. Except for this guy.
Wow. But that's interesting, though. That literally football games and disputes over land with farmers resulted in an actual war. Like that, I like that. That's a very nice little, interesting little tidbit story. Like I like these little like snapshot stories. Like I like you can just get little information. Like this is a good video. Definitely very good video. Again, to the Lebanese people, to everybody in Lebanon and the surrounding countries. You know, we definitely need to keep them on our minds. You know what I'm saying? Don't let today pass by and we forget about the incident. Don't let today pass by and we forget. Please don't let the media wash this down as this some type of just accident. Because I have my doubts. But again, to everybody that was affected, first of all, rest in peace, and also have a speedy recovery to everybody that was affected, to everybody who has a family member that's in Lebanon or a family member who's been affected by that. Definitely, we have to make sure that this issue does not get washed away. We can't let it get washed away, because literally that did not look real. That explosion didn't even look real. It looked like something out of a movie. It looked like special effects or something. Like, we have to make sure that the media doesn't wash this down the drain. And this is just another random incident. Well, it's a big explosion. Well, just pass it away. Definitely have to. I think there might be a petition, because somehow change.org they just farting out petitions for everything. I don't know, but just definitely don't let this issue wash away. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to share the video wherever you share videos at. But anyway, thank you again. Please be safe. Have a great day. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.